What's one form of sales sabotage that salespeople face every single day that can either make or break them? I'm Sylvan Bell. I'm coming to you live from Sacramento, California on a perfect day to talk about sales and a perfect day to talk about you. Now, first and foremost, I have to give you a news flash. News flash. Sales will never, ever be fair. And you got to know that. Sales will never, ever be fair. No matter what industry you're in, no matter what you sell, no matter what you do, there is nothing fair about this game. You've got liars, you've got cheats, you've got fraud. You got those guys on one hand. You've got closers, and you got people who are willing to outwork you on the other. And so here's a problem and a struggle that I see salespeople face is they get caught up in the negative. They get caught up in everything that's wrong, okay? And I'm just going to give you an example out of my own personal life. In 2007, 2008, when I was doing in-home sales for heating and air, there was a website that showed bad jobs, and I got really caught up in bad jobs. And my numbers, I went from like about a 50% closing rate, and I went all the way down to like a 20, 22, 23% closing rate. I cut my numbers in half, right? Because my focus was on the wrong thing. You know, Anthony Robbins would say, well, where focus goes, energy flows. And so my focus was on the negative, and because I was focused on the negative, I had been closing up here, and now I'm closing down here. Okay? It wasn't until somebody pointed out, they said, hey, what changed in your life where you were here and now you're here? And I said, oh, I started looking at this website XYZ. And they said, stop looking at that website. My numbers started closing again, okay? Now, there was a second event in my life where I was listening to a radio show that was funny in the morning, and they purported to hate people, right? So I started adopting this belief that I don't like people and people don't like me, and my numbers went from here all the way back down to here, okay? There's huge reasons and huge implications. I was going to say two, but there's huge reasons and huge implications why I'm sharing this with you is where your focus goes, your energy does flow in the world of sales. So if you're caught up in things like lead distribution, if you're in an organization where the company gives you leads and says, hey, here's your lead to go run, and if you're like, hey, it's not fair, how come I'm getting this type of lead and that guy's getting this one, or this one is getting this one, there's no such thing as fair. There's not ever going to be fair. And there's no way to justify making it work to a salesperson's favor. So if you're in an organization that gives leads and they do this the right way, what they're going to do is they're going to say, I've got 10 salespeople, and if I have 10 salespeople, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my leads to the guy who's going to close the most, and that just makes sense because here's what's going to happen. That guy's going to bring me the most amount of income. And so when you look at a sports team, you look at any type of performance, everybody goes and gives the ball to the guy who's going to get the best shot and put that shot in the basket. And some people will say, well, there's a fallacy to that. Okay, well, there could be, but think about the confidence that guy has. Think about all the abilities that that guy has and the ability to go and close the deal. And so I will see salespeople get so caught up in this, they become a pariah in an organization where nobody wants to talk to them, nobody wants to interact with them, nobody wants to pick up the phone when they call, nobody wants them at the meetings, and they don't understand. It's because they're caught up in the wrong direction. Instead of saying, hey, here's my lead right here in my hand, I'm going to do everything I can to go close it, they start looking for all the reasons why they shouldn't. And I'm going to promise you this, in the world of sales, if you look for a reason to not close a deal, you're going to find it. Think about that. If you look for a reason to not close a deal, you're going to find at least one reason to not close it. And so it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy of I'm going on a bad lead, lead failed. I went on a bad lead failed. It's not me, it's the world that's against me. But remember, sales is never, ever going to be fair. And if you don't realize that and all you're caught up in is this guy's doing this and that girl's doing that and this guy's doing this and that girl's doing that, you're not focused on yourself. You're focused on everything else that's wrong, right? The best thing that you could ever do is adopt the mindset, if I don't care what lead I'm running, just give me decision makers and I'm going to go close it. Just give me the people that I need to talk to and I'm going to go close that deal. I don't get caught up. I'm not going to get caught up in who I meet with, the type of people that I meet with, where it's at, what industry it's in. I'm just going to go. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to give it everything that I got. And once I give it everything that I got, I'm going to ask for the business. All the other stuff on the outside doesn't matter to me because I'm not going to let it influence me. And I see this form of sales sabotage happen a lot. You could take a really good salesperson and for whatever reason, they lose their mind. They lose their mind. It's not fair. What's going on? Nobody's paying attention. How come this deal isn't happening? How come that guy's getting that lead? How come that girl's getting that lead? They got that customer. They got that client. I promise you. You want to lose your mind in sales? It's the fastest way to lose your position. It's the fastest way to lose income. It could be the fastest way to lose your job. It is an absolutely huge form of sales sabotage that you got to know. It'll single you out. And then what happens is, if this is you, you start going, well, I don't work for a good company. Then you start looking for reasons. You start looking for objections to not be inside the organization. And then your buyer feels it. Okay? Your buyer feels that you don't want to be there on that call. Your buyer feels that you are not invested in them. So it just becomes this vicious circle, and it's not good. It is sales sabotage at its purest. There you go. You got one thing to do from here. Just one thing. Find the subscribe button and click on it every time I send out a video. You'll get an update that says Scott Bell Consultant sent out another fantastic video. You should check it out, which you should. We'll see you soon. Thanks for dropping by. Aloha.